Hello and welcome to Brotherly Love FC, the show that's all about Philly soccer, and we got a ton to talk about this week. MLS playoffs, Philadelphia Union in the conference semifinals on Sunday, playing under a cloud of scandal within the organization. We're going to get to that today. The U.S. men's team, a couple of good wins. The World Cup starts to come into focus. The draw coming up in a few weeks, and we got two great guests to talk about it all coming up here on Brotherly Love FC. But first, Tom Louden. Tom, lot to talk about. Start with the Philadelphia Union.
Absolutely. Every week the wait is finally over after feels like forever, and it's basically been forever since they played the stoppage in the middle of a playoff. And then also the Union are getting ready today. They're having a bus tour around the city. We're hoping to show you some of that during the show today. So there's a lot to talk about.
The boys in blue going to be at the Liberty Bell.
Liberty Bell, Reading Terminal Market, City Hall, and make their way around Love Park down to the Art Museum.
Getting into Sunday's game, so we definitely got a lot to talk about. Hopefully we'll have a chopper shot here coming up in a few minutes. But after a long break, the Union are back this Sunday. Conference semifinals against New York. Last time they played them, they walked away with a little bit of hardware, the Supporters Shield. Our first guest is someone who knows the game at a level that very few of us do. He's played more than 400 professional matches across England and Europe. Now he's one of the top tactical analysts covering Major League Soccer. You hear his voice on the MLS Season Pass. You've seen him break down the Philadelphia Union all season long. Thank you for joining us, Danny Higginbotham. Appreciate you coming in.
No, it's my pleasure. My pleasure to come in. It's a great show, you know, and Philadelphia Union, they're doing really well. Really
yeah,
well
set up the playoffs for us. Conference semifinals. First of all, we were just talking. This is a team that, by most outsiders, shouldn't be here.
Yeah, and I'll be the first one to admit, start of the season, I did not see this coming, you know, and I've built a relationship with Bradley Carnell, and I've even said it to him, and, you know, from his side of things, he didn't take any, you know, criticism from that whatsoever. It's just, I didn't expect it. It's, when you look at this team, it's all about the collective. It's not the individual brilliance, and they had a great start to the season, then everybody started questioning and saying, okay, well, when the hot weather comes and it's difficult to play with this intensity, are you going to be able to keep this going? And what Bradley Carnell has done really well with the squad, he's been able to rest players at specific times, and they're playing now. You would think it was the start of the season, the energy that they're playing with, and to go to Chicago and get the result that they did and do it in 2 games. Yes, they've had a 3-week break, but this conference semi-final is going to be really interesting because NYC, they're a very, very good team, and in Pascal Janssen, I think they've got one of the best coaches in MLS.
So when you talk about what Carnell brought to the team, obviously you said the rest factor, they're playing at a high level now. Is that the key, or is it a style thing that he brought that flipped things? Or is it the development of the younger players? Because we know the Union are always built around young guys before generally they go somewhere else. So like just a mix of everything?
I think it's a mix of everything, but I think when you look at Bradley Carnell, I think where Philadelphia Union did their homework right, they've brought in a coach, a manager whose style to a certain extent suited the players, and it's gone into overdrive. And I think the first thing you have to do to win players over, because I've been in this position myself before, you can be in a dressing room and a manager can say to you, well, this is how we're going to play and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You can say all the things you want to a player, but it's all about winning. When a player gets that winning feeling, when the player gets that winning mentality, then all of a sudden you believe everything that's told to you by the coach and you carry on, and that's what's happened. Bradley Carnell had a great start, an unbelievable start, which nobody expected, I don't think. The players have bought into it. And you can see, like I say, it's a word that I use quite a lot, but I always associate Philadelphia Union with the collective. It's not about the individual, it's about collective, and each player helps each other on the pitch, and they've just bought in. And, you know, the supporters section as well, when you look at them, the biggest thing for me, and I go back to my time when I was playing in England, can you mirror the support? Can you mirror the area that the supporters are from? So in England, we would call that working class. Over here, it's blue collar. And it resonates. The supporters resonate to the players and vice versa, and I think that's a huge thing as well.
Set up the conference semifinals this weekend. I mean, after a 3-week break, how tough is that for a team and as a coach to help you keep focused?
I think it's the hardest role for the coach because, you know, they were successful in getting the job done in 2 weeks, and then they get a 3-week break. And sometimes people will say that that's not ideal, but I think at this stage of the season, there may be a number of players that maybe just needed that little bit of a refresh, a little bit of a recharge, but you can guarantee they're desperate for this game to get going. And, you know, playing against an NYCFC team that Philadelphia Union narrowly beat to win the Supporters Shield, and Steve Cangelosi covered that game. They're a really good team, but they've had 3 big blows. in the last couple of weeks. Pereira, who used to be at Philadelphia Union, he got a really bad injury against Charlotte. He's out. O'Neal, his central midfield partner, he's suspended. Martinez, one of the best centre forwards in MLS, he got injured on international duty, so it looks like he's going to be out as well. So I'm not saying that that makes the job easier for Philadelphia Union, but to a certain extent it probably does. But now it all comes down to the mentality, because if you're a Philadelphia Union player and you go out onto that pitch thinking that this game is going to be easier, you're in for a rude awakening, because as I said previously before with Pascal Janssen, he's an incredible coach. He is a coach that can get his players to control a game in possession or out of possession. So I expect it to be a very, very close game. I think Philadelphia Union have the slight advantage, but this will be a very, very tough game.
So which players on the Union should fans look at to say, okay, knowing the style of the two teams, this player needs to really step up for them to advance?
I think first and foremost, you always look at the midfield area, because a lot of the times the midfield that wins sort of their battle within the middle goes on to win the game. You have Danley, who loves to get forward, box-to-box midfielder, and Lukic, who will sit a little bit more, create an unbelievable partnership. Baribo had been really quiet, the centre forward. Then the last game they go to Chicago and they win the game, and he scores 2 goals. So I think it's probably the spine of the team that you're looking at. Wagner obviously is a left back. He is, he's one of the best left backs in MLS. So for him getting forward, I think that's going to be a key aspect as well. For New York City, I think you look at Fernandez Macau. He would usually play on the right in sort of a 4-2-3-1. The interesting thing now, does he now become the centre forward, because Martinez is out and sort of play that false 9 role, which I saw him do against New York Red Bulls a few weeks ago, just before the end of the season. He was outstanding. Who comes into midfield? Hack and Martins, the 2 centre backs, have a really, really good partnership. But does Hack now have to go into central midfield? So there's a lot of things to look at there. You look at Wolf going forward. There's Maxi Morales. He's like fine wine. He's 38 years of age, and I've started every single game in MLS this season for NYC. Everything goes through him. So there's a number of match winners, and I think that's why that makes this game really interesting, because we know what Philadelphia Union are going to do. There's no questions that need to be asked. They're going to start 100 miles an hour. They're going to try and get in the faces of NYC. They're going to try and disrupt them, make it chaos. That's what Philadelphia Union are so good at doing. Whereas from NYC's side of things, first thing they're going to want to do, quieten the fans down, try and have a little bit of possession. If you're sitting a little bit deeper, can you play on the counter-attack and use the pace that you've got? So first 15, 20 minutes will be so important, as in terms of NYC's aim will be quieten the fans down, frustrate Philadelphia Union. From Philadelphia Union, they will want to try and use the energy from the fans and try and get that early goal.
If you could take a step back a little bit, you've played the game at the highest level. You're now broadcasting on an MLS level. Can you talk about the competition level of the MLS compared to the rest of the world? There's a constant effort to grow the game, and part of that is being competitive.
Yeah.
How competitive is the MLS right now?
I think it's growing all the time. I think what we've seen with the US men's national team in the recent months with Pochettino, not afraid to pick players from MLS. The fact that they win the other night against Uruguay and there's 3 or 4 goal scorers from MLS, that's a huge thing. So it tells you that it's grown, because I think for so long a lot of people have thought, well, maybe to get international recognition you have to move to Europe. That's not the case now. Matt Freese, who's going to be playing for New York City at the weekend, former Philadelphia Union goalkeeper, he looks like he's going to be holding the #1 jersey going into the World Cup. So I think the league is growing all the time. I think the calendar changed now to sort of match up with the majority of the rest of the world. I think that is huge, as in terms of the transfer market, when you're able to make transfers and things like that. I think that's going to be huge. So they've made some massive steps recently. I can only speak from my own side of things. The majority of games that I've covered this year, stadiums are full. Stadiums are wonderful. The players are getting better and better. They're not only being produced through the academies, but are also coming from other parts of the world to come over here. Then you sign a player like Messi. Well, you know what that's going to do. That's going to attract other players that A, want to play with him, or B, want to play against him and be on the same field as him. So it's a really good place now, and they have to take advantage.
So you mentioned the men's national team a little bit. Looking ahead to the World Cup, obviously we're getting ready for that here. Where do you see them right now? How they're doing? We spoke to Carly Lloyd a couple weeks ago, and she said the not qualifying part of it might be even a problem, because you don't have that test to go through to see where you are. Where do you think that team is right now?
Ordinarily, I would say the lack of the competitive side of things, with you playing games, not having too much on them. Ordinarily, I would agree. But this is a squad that hasn't been picked yet. So whereas people may say, well, you play Uruguay in a friendly and you play Paraguay in a friendly, I think there's a number of players in that squad. And this is what I've loved about Pochettino. Nobody's guaranteed. Nobody's guaranteed in the squad, and it's very rare that you see that in national teams. So what you're seeing now is players that are thinking to themselves, is this my last chance to get into the squad? Am I going to have another opportunity? So where ordinarily you may look in and go, okay, there's some friendly games where you're just going through the motions, because there are so many unanswered questions. I think there's a number of players that have been playing for their places, so that's sort of taken the friendly aspect out of it. But I do love the fact of what Pochettino's done. It's great. I listened to his first answer when he was interviewed after the game when they beat Uruguay, and the question was something along the lines of, you know, does it feel good to have beaten a team like Uruguay with potentially your second team? And that annoyed him. And I can understand why that annoyed him, because he's like,
there is no second team.
Exactly, there is no second team, because you've got a number of players that I think if we rewind the clock back a year ago, there was players that you go, yeah, he's got a slim chance of maybe being in the squad. Now you're looking at it and thinking to yourself, he could be in the starting 11. And the single thing with Pochettino from the outside looking in, there is no guarantees. You're playing on merit. Doesn't matter what league you're playing in. Doesn't matter the team that you're playing for. How good can you be? And that was something that I think England had, like obviously where I'm from, had for a long time. And I think Gareth Southgate sort of broke that trend when he was manager. And it was, you know, how are you performing at that time? And I think that gets so much more out of the players as well. You see in the players now, every player that's stepping foot on the field, they're thinking to themselves, if I give a good performance, I could be going to the World Cup, which is great.
All right, Danny, thank you so much. I appreciate it. One more question.
Yeah.
First of all, I think soccer needs to be broadcast with an English accent. I think it just sounds better.
Yeah.
But real quick, you're from England. You
Yes.
live in the Philadelphia area
Yes.
now. What are your best thoughts about living in Philly? Biggest surprises? What do you like living here most?
So when I first moved here, my wife is originally from Philadelphia. And when I first moved here, the amount of people that would come up to me and go, what do you think about Philadelphia people? Like sort of expecting to get like a negative response from me. I love Philadelphia people. It's the same as Manchester. It's working class, what you would call blue collar. It is a city where if you're prepared to run through a brick wall for the team that you play for, whether it be baseball, whether it be hockey, whether it be NFL, whether it be soccer, whether it be basketball, they're going to accept you.
Right.
You can lose a game, but as long as you've given everything that you've got, then you'll be accepted. And I love the fact of like what we would say in England, you can't pull the wool over people's eyes. You can't sort of try and pretend there's something there that's not. And it's the same like in England, especially the north of England. If you've got a player that's prepared to run through a brick wall, you get beat 2 or 3-0, everyone will be okay with that. It's when you try to pretend, it's when you try to sort of kid supporters, you can't do that in Philadelphia. And that for me is what I love about it, because that resonates with me and the individual that I am and where I'm from in Manchester in England as well.
All right, Danny Higginbotham, thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate it. Hope you come back.
I will do, definitely.
We'll so hopefully see you at the stadium on Sunday. Go Union. And we'll be coming back. Another mind who knows the Union, plugged in, Jonathan Tannenwald joining us, Union beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Don't go away. Brotherly Love FC continues after the break. Welcome back to Brotherly Love FC. Our next guest, his full-time job is to cover the Philadelphia Union and soccer here in Philadelphia. If you follow soccer in this city, no doubt you've read his stuff. He's got a lot to write about these days. Please welcome Jonathan Tannenwald, Union beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Thanks very much for having me.
You've been busy lately, huh?
Just a little, yeah.
Let's start with Union playoffs. That's the hot story, and we may have to interrupt you because we got a pep rally going on. Philadelphia Union on a bus tour right now. But your take on the Union, I guess the first question is that we've been asking everyone, including players, did you expect them to be in the position they are this weekend?
I did not, and I'll be the first to put up my hand and say I did not. I did not think they'd finish first league-wide this year. I think it is a testament to Bradley Carnell's work as the manager. I think it is a testament to guys like Danley Jean-Jacques and Jovan Lukic bringing some steel back to the midfield. They've gotten some luck from elsewhere in the league. I don't think that's a question. I think there was a point in time where I thought Miami would run them down at the end of the season, but they tripped up because their guys, including Messi, were getting tired. And now we're going to see what happens over these next 3 weeks. If they beat New York, then they get Cincinnati or Miami here. A shot to try to beat Messi for the first time. They've never done it. Could be Thomas Muller's Vancouver, Son Heung-min's LAFC in the final for whoever gets there. That's a lot of really tough tests, but the reward for finishing first in the regular season is you get all these games at home.
So we talked a lot about the gap with people about how that could impact being rusty or whatever, but something you just mentioned interests me. Do you think actually having this break hurts the Union more because the other teams who are older are getting a chance to like get their legs under them a little bit?
Well, some of those same teams had guys away with national teams, so that negates a little of that. I think from what I've seen, and even the days when the U.S. national team was down there last week, they were practicing at the same time as the Union were 2 fields over. So I could see pretty well the guys who were in town were still going at it full strength. We'll see how that all plays out. We can certainly talk about the calendar change coming down the road that's going to finally render this irrelevant. But I think that is one of the big challenges that everybody in the league faces, is how you handle 2 or 3 weeks without a game now.
Well, since you brought it up, one of the ways that MLS is trying to grow the game is trying to figure out the calendar. Can you discuss what is being proposed right now? And it looks like it's probably a done deal, right?
It's not a completely done deal, but it's a deal. It's very close. Look, in the major countries in Europe and a lot of the world, soccer is a fall to spring through the winter afternoon kickoff sport. In the United States, it's a summertime, nighttime kickoff sport. So MLS is going to play a little more like the rest of the world. They're going to play in the colder weather. I hope they're going to play a lot more afternoon games than they have, which will not only let fans be in the stands when the sun's out, but will also, I think, get a few more eyeballs worldwide and in Europe and so on the league. If you think about, a 2:30 kickoff at Subaru Park is 7:30 p.m. in London and 8:30 in France and Germany and Italy and a lot of other places where you want people to be watching your games. So I think all these things are beneficial. I do think we all know, whether here in Philadelphia or down in Texas or Florida or wherever it may be, how hot it gets in the summer these days. Probably a little too hot for anyone's good health.
It gets real cold in the winter, though.
Well, but you get the thunderstorms too and all this other stuff. And as I said, it's one thing here, but in Texas and Florida and other places in the country, it gets brutal in Nashville and Charlotte, as we saw during the Club World Cup, in St. Louis. Even in a place like Portland, Oregon, it can get up to 100 degrees in the summer now. It's not great.
And the reason why they're doing it is to match, you say, the transfer.
Yes.
For other leagues. It makes it easier.
What we call the transfer market, what everybody here would call the trade deadline, I think in other sports. And it's not just free agency, it's more than that, because we're talking about a global game, but it is absolutely true. I'll take Julian Carranza as an example. When he went to Feyenoord in the Netherlands, he had to go in the summer because Feyenoord's season was starting at that point. And so if the Union had been able to sell him at a time that was both there and the buying club's off-season, it would have been a lot easier, I think, to negotiate a deal that would have made everybody happy and made everybody some money. Guys leave during the summer. The Union have gotten a little lucky. If you think about their 2 most famous transfer deals, Brendan Aronson and Mark McKenzie, they got lucky that they were able to make those work in the winter. A lot of other teams around the league have had to struggle with, I'm getting an $8, $9, $10 million offer from my star player in July and August, but I want to make a playoff run. What do I do? This is going to fix that finally, and that's a big deal. I'll mention one other thing, too, when we talk about the timing. It used to be you'd get, a number of guys in MLS who'd go to play for the U.S. national team in the Gold Cup, maybe which is the CONCACAF regional tournament. Maybe 1 or 2 would go play for Costa Rica or Jamaica, as Andre Blake does, or so on. Now you've got guys who play in the Euros. You've got guys who play South America and the Copa America. You've got the Olympics. You've got a Gold Cup every 2 years, a Club World Cup, a World Cup. Now you're in a situation where MLS is not going to have to worry about losing 60 or 70 guys for a month in the middle of the season.
Yeah, that hurts the league, hurts viewing interest. All right, don't go away. We got more with Jonathan Tannenwald, Union beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Don't go away. Brotherly Love FC continues after the break. Welcome back to Brotherly Love FC. We are joined by Jonathan Tannenwald, soccer beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. We can't talk about the Union right now without addressing the latest controversy about their sporting director. Can you give us the 30-second synopsis of what's going on? I know it's longer than that, but what happened?
A big piece in The Guardian, which is an English outlet that has a big and growing U.S. presence now. The reporter's based over here in the U.S. He did a big piece, well, a long list of allegations against Ernst Tanner of various sexist and racist and homophobic comments toward a wide range of people in soccer over the years, referees, coaches, so on. It's not good. It's still accusations for now. There's an investigation with the league. There's been conversations between the league and the MLS Players Association, but it's not good.
He was placed on leave with the Union. Real quick, can it affect the team right now?
I don't know. I was down at practice this morning, a couple hours before we recorded this, and I think if he'd only been looking at the field, he wouldn't have seen it, but haven't really had the chance to ask, admittedly, at this point.
All right. Do we have a highlight?
Yeah, sure. We do have a highlight. Real quick highlight. We love throwing the youth highlights here from our friends at Steel United, the 2010 Premier Team. This is Pace Clayton. You'll see the ball get to him right outside the 18 here on the top of the box.
Nice.
Top corner, off the post and in. 2010 boy right there. So he figures about a 15 years old. That's a heck of a shot. So great job by Pace, and thanks to our friends from Steel United for sending that in. And as always, send us your highlights on Instagram, brotherly_love FC. We love showing them off each week here on the show.
Yeah, you want your highlight? We got it right here on Brotherly Love FC. Once again, we're joined by Jonathan Tannenwald, soccer beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Jonathan, we got a couple minutes left. I want to get your thoughts on soccer in general here in the city. You're plugged in. You know the Philly. You got all the others. What is the state of soccer fandom in Philly right now?
Look, I've been covering the sport for over 20 years here and elsewhere, and it's remarkable to see how much it's grown in the time that I've lived here. With the Union, with the national teams, with people who go to the bars all over Center City and Fishtown and whatnot on Saturday mornings to watch the Premier League or Barcelona or Real Madrid or whatever it may be. You know, it hasn't cracked the code all the way in terms of being seen alongside the big four sports, but it's come a far, far way from where it used to be.
So we just saw one of the youth highlights. Talk about the growth of the impact players coming out of this area. I mean, you see them over the national team from the Union Academy. You know, has that surprised you at all, or is there something that you see that's common with all these guys?
I think the commonality of all the big guys who've come out of here is that they've almost all come through the Union, and the Union deserve an enormous amount of credit for not just the quantity of players that they've produced for the national team program, senior level all the way down through the youth teams, but the quality of them in lots of different ways. You ask around the country right now which team is the best at developing young American talent. They'll all tell you it's the Union. It's a testament to a whole lot of people who've done a whole lot of work, obviously to the players themselves, to their families, to the whole work that they've put in. But I think when the national team came back here last week, that was finally, because the men had not played here for 6 years. That was a real moment for people to finally make the tangible, almost in-person connection between Brendan Aronson when he was a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid coming up with the Union, and here he is now playing in the English Premier League for a big team in Leeds United. Feels a little distant sometimes because you only see him on TV. Now he's home training on the fields of his old club, playing in that stadium again. That makes it feel even more real for a lot of people.
Heck of a story. But finally, we have about a minute left. Your quick thoughts on the World Cup coming to Philly next year. What's it going to be like here in Philly? How big is it going to be, and how will it grow the game?
It's huge. I think they got a very good taste of it during the Club World Cup this past summer, of the cultural side of it, which was the kind of stuff I'd been waiting a long time to see in this town, the Brazilian fans, all the stuff like that. I think it's going to do wonders for Philadelphia on the international stage. Obviously, there's a lot, both soccer-wise and otherwise, as we know, that still has to play out, and we don't know where it's going to go. But I think it has the potential to be a huge, huge deal in the city and for the city's reputation.
All right. Who are you hoping for in the draw? Who would you like to see play here?
I'm going to say my personal hope is that I'm traveling with the U.S. team. So that's a tough thing. I don't know that I'm going to be here for it.
July 4th, maybe.
They're not going to play here, unfortunately. It's a shame, but they're not going to play here. I think I know a lot of people who are hoping for Italy. and a lot of people who are hoping for Scotland or Ireland. I think the one thing people are not hoping for is England, because they can't have England playing in Philadelphia on July 4th.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And as a soccer journalist, must be pretty cool being able to do that next year. Must be pretty personally exciting for you.
It's not all set in stone yet, but I'm hopeful, and it's very exciting to know what could be.
All right. Jonathan Tannenwald, soccer beat writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Thanks so much for joining us. Glad we got you in here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Keep coming back. We appreciate your time. All right, that does it for us. Brotherly Love FC. Hopefully next week we're talking about a conference final for the Philadelphia Union. We couldn't get to their pep rally today. Our chopper wasn't there yet.